Before the video starts, we suggest you that go through the PowerPoint as the video is playing because it will give you some good visual effects and it will make your understanding better.
Our topic for this project was the Fourth Crusade. What was it? The Fourth Crusade was called by Pope Innocent III to retake Jerusalem from its current Muslim overlords. However, in a bizarre combination of cock-ups, financial restraints, and Venetian trading ambitions, the target ended up being Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire and the greatest Christian city in the world. Sacked on April 12, 1204 CE, Constantinople was stripped of its riches, relics, and artworks, and the Byzantine Empire was divided up between Venice and its allies. This slide shows a map of where the Crusaders had traveled and their journey to get to Constantinople, which will be the destination of the Fourth Crusade and its battle. What caused the Fourth Crusade? The Fourth Crusade began when Pope Innocent III called upon it because he had felt that crusading was a significant factor in being the Pope, and anyone who helped in his efforts would receive remission of their sins. There was an agreement with the Venetians and the German and French crusading knights over the building of ships from Venice for their battle aids. The boats could not be paid for unless the Crusaders agreed to take the port of Zara, in which Venetians would release the Crusaders' debt to them. The Crusaders would later attempt to put Alexius IV on the throne of Constantinople with his father Isaac II, which would start the Fourth Crusade and the sack of Constantinople. What happened during the sack? During the sack of Constantinople, the Crusaders would use their vessels, supplied by the Venetians, as siege engines to help breach the strengthened walls of the city. The walls surrounding Constantinople were very strong and fortified, so the Crusaders attacked the weaker sea walls. The city defense, led by Ducas, fought hard to defend the walls from the Crusaders, but once they breached the city walls, the Crusaders went on to sack the rest of the city by stealing artwork, looting prestigious churches, taking religious relics, and killing and looting much, much more. How did the Fourth Crusade end? The Fourth Crusade would end in disaster, as a very important Christian city would fall. The Byzantine Empire would see its downfall following this crusade, as its capital of Constantinople would be sacked and taken over by the Crusaders and the Venetians. In the end, the Partitio Treaty would end the crusade and would divide up the Byzantine Empire between Venice and all its allies. The significance of the Fourth Crusade to the papacy. After the brutal crusade that Pope Innocent III had unintentionally started, he spoke out against the Crusaders that he had initially supported. He said that it was disgraceful that they would go on to destroy valuable Christian artifacts and artwork, and that it was not right that one Christian would still attempt to spill another Christian's blood. The papacy would be affected by this because it would no longer support such acts like the Fourth Crusade. Changes to church and state relations following the Fourth Crusade. The church brought itself even closer with its ties to the state with the events of the Fourth Crusade. The church once again was involved with the political occupation of a place, but this time being a very significant Christian city and the capital of an empire. The church caused the removal of power from the Byzantines in Constantinople through the sacking of the city. The Pope and the church was clearly able to make important state decisions, often involving boundaries, territory, or law disputes.
So how does the theme of missionary church relate to our topic? So the idea of the missionary church is still prevalent even in the situation of the brutal Fourth Crusade. This can seem by missionaries would travel places to preach the word of the Lord to new people and spread the idea of Christianity to new lands. The Fourth Crusade is still involved in the practice in a way, as the Crusaders were attempting to recapture the Holy Land to promote the Word of God, even more throughout places that were occupied by other religions. In this case, which in the Fourth Crusade, it would be the Muslim region in a place like Jerusalem. So remember, the Fourth Crusade is mainly the sack of Constantinople, but before that, they also they also did a small skirmish near the coast of Jerusalem. So that is why we think that the theme of missionary church relates to our topic, because they try to attack Jerusalem, even though it's not that big, but they still try to spread the idea of Christianity and spread the word of the Lord. So the overall effect on history during that time. So the Fourth Crusade completely damaged the relationship between the Greek Church and the Latin Church, because the Latin Church army attacked the Greek Church army during the sack of Constantinople. And what followed by that is the political declination of the Byzantine Empire, which will be explained on the next slide. And the Fourth Crusade was one of the it was the last main crusade. Of course, there are following more crusades after this, but they were minor, I would say, because the main crusades were the first, second, third, and fourth. So there are numerous consequences of the Fourth Crusade, but the most obvious must be the breakdown in relationship between the East and West after the sack of 1204. The stealing and looting by the soldiers of earlier crusades while they advanced through the empire had created a popular Byzantine hatred towards the West, uh, which became permanent. So, to put this in real life, imagine someone who raided your house and took over it. Yeah, that's how the civilians of Constantinople felt, as the Latin Church army, Latin Empire army, I should say, took over Constantinople and they burned everything. And so, yeah, so it created lots of hatred. The population of Western Europe was, in their eyes, barbaric. A citizen of Constantinople named Nicetas Coniates wrote, "Between us and Latin's church is set the widest gulf. We are poles apart. We have not we have not a thought in common. They are stiff-necked, with proud affection of an upright carriage, and for barbarity because of the uncivilized like way the Crusaders tore through the city." The Fourth Crusade had a massive impact on Catholic Church in a bad way, because it separated the Eastern Orthodox and the Western Church permanently, which constructed Greek Orthodox and Roman Catholic today. If the Fourth Crusade did not happen, many historians argue that the East and the Western churches may have been able to reunite. And the capture of Constantinople increased political declination for the Byzantine Empire. This was caused by the Byzantium to later become an easy target for the Turks and the Muslims. So as we all know that after the Latin Empire took over Constantinople, it was very weak, as all like Constantinople was almost all of it was destroyed, and it was easy target for their real enemy, which is the Muslims. This crusade was the end of the main crusade. Uh, this awarded the overall victory to Islam, which was the exact opposite of the original intentions. So what we can see here is the Fourth Crusade was not very good, as it was basically like attacking ourselves to weaken ourselves for the Muslim army to come in and try to take over. So the overall significance of the Fourth Crusade is so basically it is significant because it showed corruption in the Roman Empire, and it is significant because it was many argue that it was one of the cause of the fall of the Byzantine Empire, and it is significant like church religiously wise because it impacted the Holy Land and rule change in Greece. So to summarize it up, many historians believe the Fourth Crusade was called a bank shot, which is like they needed money, so they just raided Constantinople. Furthermore, many argue that the crusade is a failure because it failed to accomplish what was the goal at the end of the Third Crusade, which was to undermine the Muslim army in Jerusalem. But as we all know, that the army went to attack Constantinople instead. So what this shows us, it shows us the corruption in the Roman Empire, because the army showed its greed throughout the event, because instead of attacking for religious reasons, the Latin Empire army attacked for personal reasons, as they gained wealth by attacking Constantinople. This was one of the important causes to the fall of Byzantine Empire. Even though before the Crusade, the Byzantine Empire was already weak and getting weaker every day, and therefore, following the sack of Constantinople, the Latin Empire Constantinople was established. And then the impact of the Holy Land was the legacy of the Fourth Crusade, was deep sense of betrayal felt by the Greek Christians, because they were attacked by Western Europe Christians. With the event 1904, the schemes between the churches in the East and the West was completely was just completely separated. The sack of Constantinople brought in Latin Empire civilians and the Western Europe cultures, including laws and others. So the most of people who came to Constantinople after the sack were French landlords, and they brought in the French culture, including like cultural works and other collections of laws. So now we're at the end of our slideshow. You might want to ask, how is it significant to the modern church, and how does something that happened 800 years ago affect us? So to summarize it up, the Fourth Crusade, one of the effects was it was the split between the Greek and the Latin Church. So basically, we can tell that today in modern churches, there's a Greek Orthodox Church and the normal Catholic or Christian Church. So that happened because of the Fourth Crusade, when the Latin Empire army sacked the Byzantine Empire's capital, which is Constantinople. So that was one of the main significance to the modern church. And the other significance to the modern church was the damage dealt between the Christian and the Muslims. Remember, before the sack of Constantinople, the Latin Empire army also had a small skirmish at the coast of Egypt and at the coast of Jerusalem. So although it was small, the damage was still dealt between the Christian and the Muslims, and which can be seen by today. The two religions are very split. Thank you for listening to our slideshow, and have a good day. The citation is at the end of our PowerPoint.